What was your "it seemed like a good idea at the time" story? In high school, my friend discovered that he was particularly agile at running toward a wall and kicking off of it into a backflip. He would do this all day, every day, before school, at lunch, etc. One day we were inside a classroom, and the teacher had stepped out for a moment. Of course, he took this opportunity to try his little trick. He didn't, however, take into account the fact that the drywall might not support his weight as well as the brick and concrete walls he'd tried before. His leg ended up busting straight through the wall to the other side, into a classroom full of students taking an exam. So I wasn't actually in the class taking the exam, but to this day I still imagine how strange and hilarious it would be to be sitting in that class and suddenly see a leg burst through the wall. Makes me smile just thinking about it. I ran across the street with my eyes closed when I was 14. I didn't get hit by a car, however I ran into a tree head first and cut my face and knee open. For all of you asking what my thought process was, it is as follows. Who am I kidding? I have no idea what I was thinking. When I was a kid, I tried to ride my bike up the trunk of a tree so I could kick off and try to land it and it'd be really cool. Turns out, a tree trunk is rounded, and so you'll just slip off the trunk and hit your head on the tree. My brother still gives me shit about trying to ride my bike up a tree. When I was a teenager, my brother, cousin, and a couple of friends decided to try to steal a Coke vending machine by tipping it over into the back of a Ford Ranger pickup and take off. We were like, we'll just put it in our garage and have plenty of soda and we will refill it. We had one of those keys for them. It was 2 in the morning and we were all wasted. This was mid-90s, mind you, and way out in the country. There was a little store with the machine. We backed up and my brother and I got it rocking back and forth and finally, blam, into the back of the truck. It lifted the front end of the truck off the ground, and as soon as it landed in the bed, my buddies started hauling ass with me trying to jump into the bed with the vending machine, and my brother hopped on the back of the vending machine, riding it like a majestic horse. But we forgot to unplug it, and for some reason it was just enough that it pulled the machine out of the truck, with my brother on it, and crashed into the ground. We were young, dumb, and bored as hell, but it made perfect sense to us then. When I was 15, my best friend and I just got new BB pistols. They were the Walther CP99. Looked identical to the real Walther CP9, with a removable magazine and no orange tip. We were playing with them in the back seat of his mom's car. They weren't loaded, we were just excited and wanted to take them out of the box. She knew we had them out and didn't think anything of it. This was the late 90s, by the way. Before going back to his house, she went through the drive-thru at Burger King. You know where this is going. She's ordering food with 2 large 15-year-olds holding guns and pointing them at everything. Fast forward 30 minutes, we're pulling into their driveway, and his dad comes running out of the house historically. One of his friends just called and said that he heard on the police scanner that they were looking for his vehicle with 2 white males holding a female hostage at gunpoint. A few minutes later, several police cars pull in the driveway, jump out with guns out, making everyone get on the ground. It took some explaining on his dad's part about us being a bunch of dumbasses. 15-year-old me couldn't figure out what all the fuss was about, but the 34-year-old me looks back and realizes that might be the dumbest thing I have ever done. I had just finished this bike ride with my scout troop, and we ended it at the side of a river. So waiting for our parents to pick us up, the boys all go to a rope swing to around in the river. It was absurdly shallow. The furthest swing would still land you in 3-foot water. The average lazy swing was around 2 feet deep or so. Mom comes, some dad hollers at me that she's arrived. I run back until I can see her getting out of the car and yell, "One more swing, Mom, I'll be right back." She seems in a good mood, says okay, starts chatting with other adults there. So, not 2 minutes later, I walk up to her with a broken arm. I had gone back for that one more swing, screwed up and planted my wrists into the shallow water, broke my arm, and I got out of the water, saying bye without telling the kids what I'd done. Just sorta walked up to my mom. "Hey, I just broke my arm. Sorry." She was not pleased. Like, seriously. You had to go for one more swing. Come on, let's go get a cast, you idiot. When I was working in retail for the first time, I was hired with 3 other people as seasonal employees for Black Friday and holiday season, and towards the end of the day, they would send us to go bring in any shopping carts or buggies that were outside, and usually we would have to push it in ourselves because we didn't have one of those machines that would push it for you. And someone suggested, why don't we just make one huge cart line and push it in instead of having 4 different lines? And everyone agreed. So we get everything and lined up, about 60-70 something carts. Took 3 of us to push it, it was so heavy. And the other guy was guiding it at the front. We managed to get inside the store and into the cart area, but being a whole line and heavy as we couldn't stop it in time, so it blew past the rail, and unfortunately on the other side of the cart area is where we kept the dishwashers, refrigerators, TVs that are supposed to be going out for delivery or sold. We ended up breaking a TV and denting a fridge. Unfortunately, the store manager was doing his night rounds around the store and saw the whole thing as he was coming down the main hall. We got yelled at pretty bad and immediately just told us to go home and see him in his office tomorrow morning. It seemed like a good idea though, lol. Making bows and arrows with my friends when I was around 13. To ensure that the arrows got stuck in some tree or whatnot, we duct taped 80mm nails at their ends. Then we went shooting around the nearby field with complete disregard of each other's positions. I did not take an arrow to the knee, but to the palm of my hand, remembering the friend saying to the other, "No worries, I won't hit him." Luckily nothing serious came from that. So back in the day, my brothers and I were shooting a bow and arrow behind our house. We had a proper backstop and a nice target on a bale of hay. After about an hour, we were getting bored, and one of my brothers had a stroke of genius. Let's light one on fire. So there we are, wiring rags to arrows and soaking them in gas and shooting stuff. Didn't take long and half the yard was on fire. We'd shot pretty much every flammable thing we could burn in the yard. Since we were running short on stuff to shoot, my brother decided to launch one in a 45-degree arc over the woods behind the house. We all watched sore laughing and giggling. When it hit the apex was when it dawned on us that this was in fact a really stupid idea. All 6 of us sprinted off into the woods in the direction it had been shot. It wasn't hard to find it, as it lit an entire little meadow on fire. So we ran around stomping out fires for an hour. When we finally got the fire put out, we were sitting by the creek, and my oldest brother looks at us and says, "Dad never hears a word about this."